What's up, Nerfers, and welcome back to my channel, where I test blasters like this one outdoors in real world conditions to bring you the results that I want to know. The Nexus Pro X here usually shoots just below 200 feet per second straight out of the box. This one here though is doing over 300. The downside of that is it has an incredibly difficult prime now. I cannot prime it with one finger. Need to brace it against my shoulder and pull back. Definitely not something a kid could use now. Though for only $50 US in the States, this could be a good beginner's option if you mod it. For today's video, I'll quickly show you what I did to make this shoot 300. And then I'll get on with some testing. First up, I needed to crack this baby open, so I undid all of the screws aside from the front grip. You can actually leave that one in. Then at the back, I removed the stock and the spring, then carefully pried open the clips on the top of the buffer tube. You don't want to snap these off accidentally, so be gentle. With the clips undone, the two halves of the Nexus clamshelled apart nice and easily. And if you remember back to my review video, there were two downsides to the stock barrel. Firstly, it had a terrible air leak, and second, attaching the B car actually gained velocity, meaning the stock barrel is far too short for this blaster. I decided to make a longer 35cm one out of an old barrel I had laying around. It's actually from a Saber. I simply used a pipe cutter to shorten it down, then a deburring tool to clean up the cut end on both the inside and out. Before I could go about adding that longer barrel though, I did have to drill out the front muzzle piece with a 16mm drill bit so that my upgrade barrel could actually fit through it. You could also use a 3D printed barrel collet. I think Out of Darts, maybe even Frontline Foam may sell one, but that doesn't solve my air leak problem. What does though is super glue. I applied a generous amount of it to the barrel, then twisted it into the dart gate for an even coating. If you're using a barrel collet, you could probably get 90% of the way here just by wrapping Teflon tape around the barrel instead of gluing it in. In fact, I'd probably recommend doing that so the barrel's removable again afterwards. From here, I closed the blaster back up, attached a Dart Zone B car, and then for the finishing touch, I installed the official upgrade spring available from Dart Zone's website in the USA. And that was kindly forwarded to me thanks to Frontline Foam since I'm in Australia. The upgrade spring comes in a twin pack with a downgrade spring and a couple of tuning spacers. I'm going to be ignoring the downgrade spring entirely, but I will be chrono testing it with and without the spacers. Okay guys, for the chrono test today, I'm going to be using standard 1 gram worker bamboos. For starters, I'm not going to use either of these two spacers. Let's see how it does. $254, $245, $258, $266, $252, $255, $252, $262, $256, $256, $259, $258, $258, $256, $257, and that's all 15 shots. That prime was pretty brutal already, so not too keen on how the spacer I'm about to add will increase that. Definitely feels a heavier prime than any of my 300 FPS blasters. But this was never really designed for 300 FPS, was it? Pretty simple to install, just slot it over the spring rest there and put the spring rest back in. 285, 286, 271, 288, 298, 282, 289, 299, 299 again, 304, 294, 294, 281, 267, a bit low there, and 242, and that's all 15 shots. All right, here's with two spacers. 304, 300, 284, 282, 301, 309, 305, 311, 301, 297, that's a brutal prime, 316, 309, 303, 307, 301. That's all 15 shots with an absolutely brutal prime that's heavier than any other 300 FPS blaster I've ever used. Over the Chrono with the upgrade spring and no spacers, it averaged 256 feet per second, about a 60 feet per second gain on average over the stock performance. With one spacer added, that bumped it up to an average of 285, and finally with both spacers installed, it averaged 302 feet per second. I think it's pretty impressive that the NPX can even shoot 300, but how much range has it gained? Okay guys, for the range test today, I want to see how far this can shoot now it's been upgraded. In my initial review video, it only shot 51 meters compared to the box claim of 60, and that was using 1 gram AF Pros. I'm going to be using 1 gram worker bamboos. Let's see how it compares. All right, let's go find those. Where are they? Ooh, here we are. Okay, we have all 5 of the worker bamboos, which I'll take an average reading of, at 63 meters. Straight out of the box with 1 gram darts, the NPX averaged 51 meters in maximum range. With this upgrade spring and both spacers, it's now shooting 12 meters further or 63 meters. Whether that extra range is worth the ridiculously heavy prime, well, that's gonna be up to you. And before I make my mind up on it, first I wanna see the accuracy. As usual for the accuracy test, I'll be sitting here 30 meters away from the target, resting on a sandbag. Let's quickly show you where I need to actually aim to hit the target. In my review video of this, straight out of the box, I had to aim halfway up the tree to even make the distance of 30 meters. With this one now, with 2 spacers in it, shooting over 300 feet per second, I can actually aim straight here, and it will drop about 40 centimeters by the time it reaches the target. As I said, we're 30 meters away. I've got 15 1 gram worker bamboos loaded up. I've got the Dart Zone B-car on, which from previous testing doesn't seem to work very well at 300 FPS, but we'll see how it does, and if it performs pretty poorly, I'll swap it out for something else. That one spiraled and went low of the target. That one spiraled and went left of the target. So it does seem to be confirming what I've already showed. This B-car is best suited below 200 FPS. As I finish the mag though, power through it though. Who wants to watch these inaccurate shots, right? Some of these are all right. Could be like an inconsistency in dart size, being a poor pairing for this B-car. Anyway, let's chuck on a metal CNC flag and armor B-car and see how it improves it. See, this is what you call thinking ahead. Loosen that nut off, slide it on, tighten the nut. Easy as 1, 2, 3. 15 more, it's 1 gram worker bamboos. Listen to those bearings spinning. Such an iconic feature of this B-car. And it's going nice and central too. That's lovely. It's hard to believe that changing just the B-car improves the grouping so much. That one was a little outside the others. Back to the middle. Look, this is also impressive for such a small plunger tube blaster that's not really designed for 300. to still maintain this kind of velocity when it's obviously getting more of a burst pressure by using a heavier spring. That's all 15. A night and day difference with the flag and armor beaker. This one I'd say just has way too much spin and causes the darts to spiral in the air. At 300 feet per second, the included dart zone beaker shot a pretty terrible 1 meter spread at 30 meters away. Much worse than how it performed sub 200 stock. I suspect it just adds way too much spin at higher velocities, which I have shown in another video as well. The flag and armor beaker, which I swapped on, had a much tighter 35 centimeter spread with the same darts, which pretty much confirms my observations. So it seems if you plan to upgrade the MPX from stock velocities, you'll also want to change your rifling. But now that you've seen that 300 can be done, let's discuss whether it should be done. The prime weight of this blaster at 300 feet per second is heavier than any other 300 feet per second blaster I own. It was never really designed for this performance level. The air volume is just far too small. Using this for a full day event would not be a pleasant experience compared to something fit for purpose like a Worker Harrier, for example. If I lived in the USA, had a 300 feet per second event coming up, and all I had was $50, sure, I would probably go with a Nexus Pro X, but I wouldn't bother modding it. Keeping it stock, so around 195 feet per second, loses 12 meters in range, so you'll have to aim a little bit higher to hit people further away, but the much easier prime weight stock will allow you to keep going all day long, and you can easily rapid fire that blaster at multiple targets in quick succession.
Oh, fuck me.
Additionally, at the stock sub 200 performance level, the included beaker works incredibly well. When you push the NPX above that though, you'll need to swap to something with less spin to maintain that level of accuracy. If I really wanted a blaster that hits 300, well, the NPX can do it. I personally would keep saving my pennies a bit longer and get something with a larger plunger tube for a much easier prime at the same FPS. And if spending more isn't an option, I'd just stick with the stock config with the included beaker. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I've literally got a plane to catch. I'll be reading your comments from Malaysia and Singapore. So obviously, that's all I have for you today. Like, comment, subscribe, and all of that. Here's 2 other videos you might enjoy. And as always, thank you very much for watching. See ya.